Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Unique at the college level is that you get to recruit the guys that sometimes at the high school level, but at the college level, you get to recruit the guys that you want. And sometimes you can choose the players that fit the style that you like. But like you and I that don't recruit that, and you being at the same place over the years, have you kind of trained up your players to fit a style of play that you love, or have you adjusted your style to, and you kind of mentioned a little bit with this year's team being a little bit more athletic, you did make some changes to them, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's an interesting question. And I think I don't think you can just say this is how I coach and as a high school coach. Now, as a college coach, I think you can say this is how I do things, and this is how I'm going to bring, just like you mentioned, I'm going to bring the players that can do what I want. But we're at a different, as you well know, we're at a different spot. And so I was a man-to-man disciple until I became the head coach here. In the first year, we ran man-to-man. And I can tell you who the starting lineup was: Zach Parker, Scott Neely, Robert Stevenson, Chris Ray, Darby Norman. That 5 guys were starting for us, and we were half-court man, and we worked the ball. We ran triple post and got it in, punched it back out. And, that was us. And as time went on, we had a big team that year. We had 6'6", 6'7" big guys, and we're pretty good team. But as time went on, I started looking and seeing that I felt like we really didn't have as good as athletes as some of the teams that we were going to face. And so we looked at zones, and I actually changed to zone probably the second year. And I ran a zone defense at Randall. We've run zone until last year. We started running some man, and this year, from Christmas on, we ran all man district playoffs. But it was based on, I thought we had the size, the quicks to do that better. But I always looked at it, even back then, 30 years ago, what is it going to take to win, to get you to the regional tournament? It was the regional tournament back then. And I didn't think we could line up with the athletes that we have. They were great kids and they were good shooters. We've always been able to shoot. But defensively, I felt like a zone stopped dribble penetration, those athletic teams that you're going to face. So we've maintained that for years. But then when I got these guys, we've gone to press, and man, it's fun. I love fast break basketball. That is what, and even when we ran zone, it was kind of an oxymoron. We would, the game would be kind of slow. That's why I've prayed every year for a shot clock. But the game would slow down on the defensive end, and then when we got it, we're to the other end, and we're firing up a three. Or I like to play fast, but now it's the style that I really like. As a high school player at Monterey, our coach, a good game to him was 36-35, and we passed it into the post, and a guard on that team would look at each other. Are you going to shoot one tonight? Because if you shot it and missed, you were coming out. So you would, that was kind of how I was raised. So as a result of that, I've always liked fast break, the I was a Pete Maravich. I love Pete. This shows how old I am. I
No,
love
he's one
Pete
of my
Maravich.
favorites. Yeah.
Oh man, I every Saturday afternoon I'd sit at home and watch. LSU was on. You know, they don't have one game a week back then, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm rambling again. But yeah, I think that I'm not. I think a high school coach just to say this is how I do it and I will do it that way every time. I've changed offenses. One of the greatest basketball coaches I know on the face of the earth is Joe Lombard, the girls coach at Canyon that won 20 something state championships, and he'd change offenses during the year, you know, even.
Hmm.
I think I just believe you better adapt to your players and there's some basic principles that I'm going to do no matter what, the way we shoot, the way we do things, but we try to adapt it more to our players and change our offense or defense according to them.
I think that's the secret sauce right there is that you have your principles, like you said, some concepts that, I mean, really, like for us, when leather touches our fingertips offensively, we are racing and we want to get the ball to dangerous spots. It doesn't really matter what continuity we run. Where the rules are still the same. Can I shoot it? If not, can I move it? If not, I'm going to try to attack the world, or the
Yeah.
paint. And so I agree with that, but then where I got into trouble starting out was this idea of system, my system, and even wanting to be known for a system. I think that when that maybe that arrogance or like golly selfishness really starts to creep in, then you can kind of be blind to what you said, which is we need to do what's best for the players we have to be successful. Coach, I'm trying to get there and I'm trying to be better as I do this more and more.
Oh, you're great, man. You're good. You're good.
Last 3 years ago, I was like you. Coach Thomas was a man-to-man guy. Coach Bliss, in college was a man-to-man guy, and so that's kind of how I grew up. And then with Wes Watson, we started to press a little bit, but I used to think of zones as maybe weak. Maybe that's just not as a real coach. That's not what you do. 3 years ago, we went to a pressure kind of 3-2 zone here at Faith. And it's been a game changer. But now, Coach, I'm kind of I fell into that trap a little bit again. This is what we do. We don't deviate from that. So how, like you made the change for years to zone, back to man. I don't know. How do you do that?
Well, it's just, I think you've got to teach the fundamentals. And as we were I knew I wanted to run man with this group of kids 2 years ago, and we started implementing some breakdown drills, some man-to-man drills, and we're working on our zone every day. But I tricked them, and we're working on okay, we're gonna do it a little differently today. We're gonna we always work close, and we ran the amoeba. That's the zone, so it's a high pressure closeouts, push it to the baseline, just like I wanted to do with man. We fronted the post, and we kind of side front now in man, but we just kind of slowly put that in last year and started running some of it, and then this last summer we ran more of it. I told our summer guy, let's try to run more man. And then we just kept working it. And this year, when school started, we spent all of our breakdown time in man to man stuff instead of zone because we could run the zone. They'd do. And what's funny is we go play Faith Family down there at the state tournament. They're so big. And I said, we can't man these guys. We're going to have to zone them. Well, the first play of the game, we missed a shot and 6'11", rebounds it and dunks it. We're our rebounding in our zone. Our zone, the two guards are going backside. Well, their backside 6'8", 6'11". You can't rebound it. So finally, the second half, we went back to man. But
it made sense. It did make sense to go zone like that. I get that. Let me ask you this: did you when you were running zone? Did you run that down through your junior highs and have them start out with it, or did you have them stay in man?
We ran in 7th grade. We started teaching that, and ran it, and everybody said, I read, and you see it on shows on Twitter all the time. If you teach zone in junior high, you're a sissy, and you're we do zigzag drill, we do
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff that a man-to-man coach closeouts every day. I mean, we do basically a lot of the same shell, everything, but we just made it fit to a zone. So uh, I I just wanted to run it in our system, and through the years we've always run it that way. And now it's crazy because we deviated back, and this year I had all of our junior high running man. We're kind of we got some different kids right now, and so we we're kind of leaning toward that defensively, but we're still running on offense. No matter
Yeah.
what, we want to run and go.
I know what you're talking about, because people talk at the youth level, and sometimes they go up into junior high, but that no zone should be allowed. And you're right, the way that you teach it, and I like to think the way I teach it, it's man-to-man principles, and
Right.
the effort that they give, and the way they have to guard the ball, the way they have to rotate. It's very different from what most people are thinking of, which is you go to watch a third grade game at the local field house, and it's just a team standing there like this, and that in practice they all they were taught was to stand like this, and the other team's not big enough or strong enough to throw over the top. Like, that's not the same thing as what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're right. And it got me. We went to Albuquerque to the regionals, NCAA regionals. Indiana, Bob and I was in Indiana. This is in the early '90s, and New Mexico State had a really good team. Neil McCarthy was their coach, and he ran the Amoeba. And I sat under the basket at that game, and I watched that pressure they put in that zone and their rotations, and I fell in love with it. I called his staff. And we just went to it then. That's, like I said, that's been 32, 33 years ago, and it's been good to us. But change is good. Change is good. I've always believed that. I don't think you sit in which kind of relates to your question. I don't think you just sit in one thing and say, this is the way I do things, and I will always do it that way. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not the old guy that says, I'm going to do it this way until I die. If you tell me something better right here, I'll go try it right now, man. I'll go try it right now. So,
well, that's incredible, though. That's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And the danger with fixed mindset is that you do start to become that coach that this is just the way it's always been. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put our head down. We're going to keep going. But my goal is, if I look back, every 5 years, if I look back, I hope that we have added a little bit, tweaked a little bit, not thrown everything out. Like, if it works and it's good, if it's good teaching, stick with it. But as other people grow the game and change, it's wise to have our eyes up and to keep trying to learn new things.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.